There is a rift in the team of the President of the United States Donald Trump. The head of the new Department of Efficiency, Elon Musk, has had a major row with Secretary of State Marco Rubio. The New York Times reported on the violent altercation. Rubio was furious. Sitting next to the president in the White House cabinet room, he was forced to listen to a continuous stream of attacks from the richest man in the world. Musk scolded him for the Secretary of State's failure to reduce his staff, the publication reported. According to him, the conflict between Rubio and Musk had been brewing for a long time. The Secretary of State had a grudge against the billionaire after he closed the Agency for International Development, which was controlled by the U.S. State Department. And at a cabinet meeting, Rubio, in the presence of Trump and about 20 other people, poured out all his grievances. He publicly accused the billionaire of lying. After that, the officials exchanged a portion of barbs. Throughout it all, the president sat back in his chair, arms crossed, as if watching a tennis match. But as the argument dragged on, Trump finally intervened. He sided with Rubio, saying he was doing a great job and was too busy. Trump urged them to work together, the New York Times writes. At the same time, the U.S. leader made it clear that he currently supports Musk's mission. Musk also had a conflict with U.S. Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy. The latter made claims against the billionaire for trying to fire some of the dispatchers at American airports. The head of DOGE claimed that this was a lie and demanded to name the employees he allegedly fired. The billionaire's overly bold behavior obviously does not please many in Trump's team. Musk has been hit with a wave of criticism, including within the Republican Party. And the U.S. president had to significantly reduce his powers. The DOGE leader can now only provide consultations, and he is no longer allowed to make decisions about dismissing government employees or closing projects. The New York Times notes that Trump's team is afraid of Musk, who wields great power thanks to his money and his social network X. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt would neither confirm nor deny the scandals. She called the meeting wonderful and productive, and insisted that everyone is working as a team. U.S. President Donald Trump implicitly acknowledges that his withdrawal of intelligence and other support to Ukraine facilitates Russia's terrorist attacks of Ukrainian civilians. Asked if that was a result of the U.S. pause in military cooperation with Ukraine, Trump said Putin was doing what anyone else would do. And he justified the U.S. move by saying, "I want to know Ukraine wants to settle and I don't know they want to settle." Trump said he was contemplating the move because Russia is absolutely pounding Ukraine on the battlefield right now. Trump's comments marked a sharp change in tone. Since coming into office, he has praised Russian President Vladimir Putin and blamed Ukraine's leader for not wanting peace with Russia. "I'm finding it more difficult, frankly, to deal with Ukraine, and they don't have the cards," Trump said. "It may be easier dealing with Russia." There has been growing skepticism among Trump's Republican Party about continued support for Ukraine.
To the pause on military assistance to Ukraine, you put out on your social media post today that Russia is pounding Ukraine.
That's right.
Why not provide Ukraine with air defenses? And what happens, Mr. President, when Ukraine runs out of...
Well, because good question. Because I have to know that they want to settle. I don't know that they want to settle. If they don't want to settle, we're out of there. Because we want them to settle. And I'm doing it to stop death. More important than anything else. Secondarily, way down the line is the money. So we're in for $350 billion and Europe is in for $100 billion. They should be in for the same or more than us. And, you know, I watched over the last week or so what's going on in Europe. This thing could end up in World War III if we don't get it settled. This could really end up in a World War III. We got to get it settled.
European Union leaders on Thursday committed to working together to bolster the continent's defenses and to free up hundreds of billions of euros for security after U.S. President Donald Trump's repeated warnings that he would cut them adrift to face the threat of Russia alone. According to Associated Press, with the growing conviction that they will now have to fend for themselves, Countries that have faltered on defense spending for decades held emergency talks in Brussels to explore new ways to beef up their security and ensure future protection for Ukraine. Today history is being written, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen told reporters after the summit ended. She said the 27 EU leaders are determined to ensure Europe's security and to act with the scale, the speed and the resolve that this situation demands. We are determined to invest more, to invest better and to invest faster together. The pledge underscored a sea change in geopolitics spurred on by Trump, who has undermined 80 years of cooperation based on the understanding that the US would help protect European nations following World War II. The leaders signed off on a move to loosen budget restrictions so that willing EU countries can increase their military spending. They also urged the European Commission to seek new ways to facilitate significant defense spending in all member states, a statement said. The EU's executive branch estimates that around €650 billion could be freed up that way. The leaders also took note of a Commission offer of loans worth €150 billion to buy new military equipment and invited EU headquarters staff to examine this proposal as a matter of urgency. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán, a staunch supporter of Trump and considered to be Russian President Vladimir Putin's closest ally in Europe, refused to endorse part of the summit statement in favor of Ukraine.
C'est-à-dire que compte tenu de la menace et quoi qu'il advienne en Ukraine, nous avons besoin d'augmenter nos capacités de défense et nous avons besoin de bâtir, sur les quelques années qui viennent, des capacités de défense autonomes pour les Européens.
Merci Monsieur le Président. Francesco Fabio pour l'agence France-Presse, vous avez évoqué cette réunion.
Ce sont maintenant des décisions qui marquent sur le plan de la défense passage à l'action. Avec l'emprunt de 150 milliards d'euros de la Commission, garanti sur le budget de l'Union, les États membres pourront se voir prêter aux meilleures conditions du marché des financements qui permettront des équipements de court terme et donc de manière plus immédiate. La décision ensuite de règles plus flexibles du pacte de stabilité et de croissance permettra de libérer des investissements de défense au niveau national par les États membres. Plusieurs programmes du budget européen, notamment les fonds structurels, sont repriorisés par la Commission pour pouvoir être utilisés là aussi sur les dépenses en matière de défense.